Rift. So they're back with the patch notes for patch 3.0a, and first up, this picture looks really cool. But let's get into the actual content of the patch. Now I wanted to do this honestly what 5 hours ago, 6 hours ago or so. I wanted to record this 5 or 6 hours ago, but it was really noisy. There was a lot of lawn mowing, grass cutting going on, and it was so noisy I couldn't even hear a video without putting my earpiece on. So obviously not conducive for recording, but anyways, here we are gonna get straight into it. So first up, 2 new skins coming up: Dragon Slayer Olaf and Infernal Kennen. 2 pretty cool looking skins. And now the rest is basically champion changes and a couple of item changes as well, which are really interesting. So first up, we have a Mumu buff to his Q range by only 0.5. So personally, I don't think this will affect him too much. I think it's still going to be about the same. 0.5 range difference is very little, although it is of course nice quality of life. Alright, now before I actually move on, I forgot to mention something, which is I do feel that now they are actually releasing patches at a much slower rate. Now I did know that they did mention that in the season 2022 video that they will be releasing champions at a slower rate, but I didn't know if that included patches or not, and it appears that it does include patches, because normally we used to get a patch not a major patch but a minor patch at the minimum every 2 weeks, or at most 3 weeks, unless they have a valid reason, like the Horizon Cup or something like that. But I think it's been like a month since patch 3.0, or almost a month, I'm pretty sure. But so I do think that they're releasing content a bit slower. We'll see on the next patch, which is gonna be either 3.0b or 3.1. But yeah, so Camille has quite a huge nerf, if I do say so myself. So first up, her tactical sweep, the percent health damage going down by 2% at all ranks. So now this of course is mainly used for sustain and slow, but of course the percent max health damage is going to be very useful against a bit of tankier champions, and especially in the Baron lane. But of course they're nerfing that, and the big nerf is the ultimate. So first up, the minor part of the nerf is the duration. So at max rank it's still the same, but at lower ranks it's nerfed by 0.5 and 0.25 seconds, which is very minor. You're not going to really feel it all that much. But the damage nerf is pretty huge. So it used to have a base damage of 100, 150, or 200 depending on rank, and then it did a percentage of the target's current health. Whereas now the base damage is 30 at all ranks, so it's like from 100 to 30 and from 200 to 30, and instead in compensation you get 5% extra percent of your target's current health. Now obviously at maximum rank, 30 plus 25% current health versus 200 plus 20% of current health, I think that in majority of scenarios, unless you're ulting like a tank who's at high HP, this is going to give you more damage. So this is effectively a nerf on every aspect of Camille, and I say every aspect, I mean all 3 of these are nerfs. So Camille did already get nerfs to her passive in previous patches, and I kind of think that they still think that she's too strong. Now, do I really agree with that? I think Camille is in an alright spot. Now, I don't think she's too overpowered, but she's not weak at all at the same time. But it's at high levels of play, so don't know how high level that is. Maybe it's like Grandmaster or something where she's really strong. But yeah, Camille getting a nerf. Draven in the meantime getting a buff. So he's getting a 20% increase in AD ratio on his ultimate, and now that is a pretty huge increase in terms of AD ratio, because Draven builds Executioner's Calling and Infinity HS as first 2 items, so that will give him a huge injection of AD, and this 20% extra AD scaling on his ultimate could mean that Draven's ultimate is gonna hurt a lot more. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think this buff is going to be too impactful, just due to the fact that Draven's success mainly determines on his laning phase, and this is scaling, which is not really Draven's strong suit in the first place. But of course, if you do get to later stages of the game, it is going to actually of course be more helpful for you, but I don't think it's going to affect Draven all that much. Now Gragas getting a very small buff. I say very small, but it's actually a 6 base AD buff, so will help him in the early levels in lane, of course, and of course in the jungle as well, as they highlight here. Jungle, it will help him a lot more in the jungle with his clear, so I think they're pushing the Gragas to be a little bit more of a jungler. So we'll have to see how many people take up Gragas as a jungler. But here we have the huge nerf of the patch, which is Jayce. And I say huge nerf because we all know Jayce is way overtuned. However, it isn't really that huge of a nerf at all. So his base AD going down by 6, of course, the favorite number, getting sucked by Gragas, of course. So base AD going down, and also his movement speed when he changes form is going down from 40 to 30. Now this is not to be underestimated because this actually affects his chase down potential a lot. And nerfing it by 10, you know, couldn't be the difference between catching up to a low HP enemy or not. And of course, the base AD nerf actually affects two things. Firstly, is Jax in the jungle, which will affect his jungle clear. And secondly, it does affect his level 1 a lot because Jayce is probably the strongest champion at level 1 and nobody can out-trade him at level 1 unless, like, for example, Braum auto-attacks him and gets off his passive. Something like that. But aside from that, pretty much no one wins against Jayce at level 1, who takes his Q, of course, blasts you, and jumps right over to you and starts auto-attacking you. So this will affect his level 1 and his jungle clear. And lastly, the acceleration gate bonus damage is going down from 50% to 40%. That is, of course, when you shock blast through the acceleration gate. So that will hurt the lethality Jayce quite a bit, but overall I think Jayce is still going to be in a very strong spot. Maybe not like S+ tier anymore, or maybe not S/S+ in every single role, but I still think he's going to be up there in all the 3 roles that he can be played in, just because they didn't really touch his hammer from at all, and technically his hammer from is stronger. If you go for a more bruiser build with Black Cleaver and Death's Dance, that could be the better way to go now, because obviously they're nerfing his lethality or his shock blast aspect of him, but there are of course 2 ways to play Jayce. So maybe one way is getting a little bit weaker when the other is getting stronger, or of course it could be that these nerfs don't even affect shock blast Jayce that much. But we all know that Riot likes to nerf bit by bit, so this could be the first of many nerfs to come, so we'll have to see about that. Katarina getting a buff on her ultimate of 20% AP ratio increase. Now this is going to make her even more of a menace. I don't think she's struggling to assassinate at all, because if you're a good Katarina, slash you pick Katarina into the correct team composition, I don't think you're going to have any troubles assassinating people with the Katarina as long as you know how to play her. So I think this is going to make her a lot more scary, having a lot stronger of an AP ratio. 20% on her ultimate is going to make her ultimate do a lot more damage. Of course, that is not her main point of damage, however, that will still hurt. So next we got Lee Sin with a much needed nerf onto the cooldown of Safeguard by 2 seconds. Now, probably not going to be affected too much because Safeguard's cooldown can, you know, be lowered when you auto attack and all that, so probably not going to affect him too much. But you know, a nerf on Lee Sin better than the buff that we got, like the damage buff on his ultimate. No idea what they were thinking there. Alright, so next Morgana actually gets some adjustments, both buffs and nerfs. So first up, they're giving her 5 more armor, but they're nerfing her damage across the board on her W and her R. So on her W, they did pull down its base damage by 2 at all ranks, and on its on her ultimate, the ratio has gone down from 2% of target's max health per 100 AP to 1.5% of target's max health per 100 AP. So 0.5% per 100 AP, not too much, because at the end of the day you have like maybe 300 HP, so that's total of 1.5%, which does actually make a difference and does have impact, of course. But in the grand scheme of things, your ult doesn't really do that much damage in the first place. I think this one hurts a lot more because it not only affects her damage, but it also affects her wave clear. So they did actually mention that somewhere on her wave clear, but yeah. So there we go, her wave clear over there. So yeah, so it looks like they're trying to push Morgana towards the jungle and the support role. So this is very clearly targeted in Morgana mid. Of course, it will affect Morgana in the other roles as well, but in support Morgana, your Q and your in your E are more of the focus. So it doesn't really affect support Morgana. It affects support Morgana the least out of her 3 viable roles. And jungle Morgana, she still has the 200% damage against monsters. This will this like 2 base damage nerf will affect her clear slightly, but I still don't think it's gonna be that impactful to Morgana jungle. It's mainly Morgana mid, so they're trying to push her out of the mid lane, and in my opinion, mid lane was her worst role in the first place, so I don't think this is too big of a deal. Sett getting a huge bunch of nerfs as well. Probably the most huge nerfs out of anybody in this patch. So he also gets the 680 nerf, base 80 nerf treatment. His bonus attack speed is going down from 20% to 10%. That's getting cut in half. So that is pretty huge for his base bonus attack speed. Now that's of course mainly from his passive, where he gets attack speed when he punches with his right hand. And also he's getting an attack speed per level down by 0.5%, and across the levels that eventually will lead to like a 7% decrease in attack speed, which can be significant. Right punch damage going down from 6 times your level to 5 times your level. So overall at max level it's like 15 damage difference, which could be a difference, could make the difference as well, especially combined with lower attack speed. So Sett's damage overall getting quite a huge hit. And his knuckle down, which I believe is Q, bonus damage against monsters getting half. So they want to push Sett out of the jungle, and he's meant to be a Baron laner, of course, but because he's so overtuned like Jayce, he is viable in the jungle, the mid lane, and the Baron lane. So they're trying to push, did I say Jayce? I meant Sett. They're trying to push Sett into the Baron lane, and they want him out of the jungle. Kind of similar to Jayce. So Sett jungle with this nerf and this nerf, with the AD nerf and the Q nerf. His clear is going to be very affected. I don't think Sett jungle is going to be that good anymore. Not that it was that good in the first place. It was only good because he was overtuned, like Jayce. So I think that he's probably going to be a lot more in the Baron lane now. Alright, now Vayne. So Vayne, they say she's been really strong. I think she's in an alright spot. Definitely not weak, but I don't think she's too strong. So they're only affecting her active on her W, which is not the worst in the world. Her healing goes down from 60% to 40% of damage dealt. Not the worst in the world, because she does get sustained from her Gluttonous Greaves, her Blade of the Rune King, and her Hunter Vampirism. So this is not the worst nerf in the world. The active cooldown is going up by 2 seconds in all ranks. Also not the worst in the world, because the active cooldown pretty much gives her a little bit of attack speed and also the healing, which of course if you have items already, this is gonna be a lot less of an impact. So it's quite a minor nerf to Vayne. Don't think it will affect her too badly, so it's all good there. Now we have item changes. So 2 huge item changes. First up, we have the Arcangels Staff / Seraphs Embrace. So the ability haste going down by 5 on both the default Archangel Staff and the evolved Seraph Embrace, and the Seraph Embrace Lifeline Shield is going down by 50 base. So the current mana is still the same, but the 50 is going down by 50 in terms of base shield. Now, how badly will this affect wanting to build Seraph's Embrace / Archangel Staff? Honestly, I don't think it will, because mostly people who build this item are people who need mana. People like, for example, Orianna, for example, Ziggs, who need mana. So they're mainly building it for the mana, not so much for the ability haste. Of course, you want to spam yourselves more. Ability haste does help. 5 ability haste nerf, not the worst in the world. Then the shield going down by 50, how bad is it? It's not good for users, of course. However, as I said, you're building it for the mana, and the shield is sort of like a very good defensive tool to go with it, and I don't think it is going to be the end of the world if you have a smaller shield. And I'm saying that not as an ADC main, but as someone who also plays like Orianna, who plays like Veigar and Ziggs and builds this item, I don't think it's that bad. So I think it's still fine. Serrated Dirk and the lethality item is getting some adjustments. So basically what's happening here is Serrated Dirk as a item component, lethality or / armor penetration going down from 10 to 8. So you're gonna have less flat armor penetration, whereas the and Age of Night as well, because Age of Night is still a very overtuned item and a lot of people are still building it, so it makes sense. But the Yomu's Ghostblade and the Umbral Glaive, which are of course the completed items of the Serrated Dirk, actually getting a buff of 2 flat armor penetration. So basically, if you build a Yomu's or Umbral Glaive, and when you get your Dirk, you will be 2 lethality short. But when you complete the item, you will have 2 extra lethality. So basically, the rationale is Serrated Dirk they felt was too strong as a flat armor pen item in the earlier stages of the game. So how much do I agree with that? Somewhat I do. But has it been the worst in the world? Probably not. So probably this change of 2 flat armor penetration, I don't think it's going to be felt too much by majority of the community. Something else that changed as well is two things: the Mastermind rune, which gold bonus on objective kill goes down from 120 to 40. And honestly, how badly would this affect people? Not very much, because at this point in time, after Mastermind got nerfed the first time on its true damage on the monsters, it's not so bad anymore, because most people don't actually take it. Most junglers will either take Hunter Genius or Pathfinder. Majority of junglers take Pathfinder to roam the map faster. And no one really takes Mastermind. The only people who take Mastermind are split pushers, like maybe Jungle Jax or Jungle Tryndamere. Most Baron lane split pushers like Jax Baron lane, Tryndamere Baron lane, Fiora Baron lane, and Camille Baron lane mostly go for Sweet Tooth because they need the sustain lane. They don't really go for Mastermind. Only the like jungle split pushers, like these 4 champions playing the jungle role, really take Mastermind. And a small spoiler, I am going to be releasing a Jax jungle video very soon, and I will be taking Mastermind. I recorded it right before the patch went live, so that will be the unnerved version. But honestly, I don't think that this is a very, very huge change. So it will be a huge change for those very small handful of champions who play jungle and like to split push. The 4 I just mentioned: Fiora, Camille, Jax, and Tryndamere. But aside from that, it doesn't really affect anyone because no one takes Mastermind. So lastly, barrier shield amount is kind of going down by 15 base, as well as it's basically going down by 15 base. So it's basically just going down by 15 base, still 25 for level. Now this is aimed at hitting the early game, I believe, because I really think it's early game power. It's hitting the early game, but in all other roles other than ADC, you already had the decision between like barrier, ignite, or like exhaust or some other spell. So I don't think this is really gonna affect those other roles. I think in the ADC role is where this impact will be felt the most, because ADCs always have to choose between taking heal or barrier. Now I take heal myself majority of the time, but for people who take barrier, you might want to consider taking heal more often, just because barrier is gonna be a little bit weaker in the early stages of the game. Of course, 15 base is not the worst in the world. You're still getting 100 shield points instead of 115, which is still a lot. So it's not like they're cutting it in half or anything, but they are trying to make it that much weaker, so it's not just a default option for like everybody, which I do think makes sense, because even after they nerfed it the last time, a lot of people still took it. And the nerf last time was on the cooldown, I think by like 20 seconds or 30 seconds, but yeah. So aside from that, that's pretty much it. But something they didn't mention here that I did notice was that the beta test on the voice chat did move to other regions aside from America as well, because now I have it as well. So with all that covered, thank you guys so much for watching the patch note review, and goodbye.